In this episode, we discuss the challenge of clearing one of India's largest landfills within a span of 3 years. We also highlight Ukraine's latest drone attack on Russia and why it marks a turning point in modern warfare. But first, we talk about the controversial detentions taking place in Assam, where people are allegedly being pushed across the border. Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Since last month, Assam has been witnessing an unprecedented series of events. Starting on the 23rd of May, scores of Bengali-origin Muslims were detained from their homes. Most of them had been declared foreigners by the state's foreigners tribunals and were said to be evading arrest. Now, the Indian Express's Sukrita Baruah, who reports on the state for the paper, told us that about 2 days later, on Sunday, there were more reports that such detentions were taking place across Assam.
And, there was no word from authorities on why this is happening, what exactly is happening. Finally, I managed to get through to police officials who, branded this as a verification drive, that, people are being rounded up to verify their documents, and there was no exact number. So what we went by is that scores, but this is happening across different districts of Assam.
More importantly, she says that their family members had no idea about their whereabouts. And it was only on Monday night that rumors began circulating that they were going to be pushed into Bangladesh.
But again, there was no word, there was no clarity, about what is happening. Then on Tuesday morning, this very significant video came out. So this is a video taken by a Bangladeshi journalist who had uploaded it to his social media. And there is an individual who introduced himself in the video as Khairul Islam, a resident of Morigaon district, who identified himself as a primary school teacher. And he said that he had been detained from his home on May 23rd. And then he said that he was taken to the Matia detention camp, which is the dedicated detention camp which is there in Assam. And he said that from there, he along with 13 other people were taken to this border area in Assam's Mankachar district and pushed across the border. And that video was purportedly from the no man's land, across the border from India into Bangladesh. And, these people were stranded over there.
Assalamu alaikum. আমার নাম মোহাম্মদ খায়রুল ইসলাম। আমি একজন প্রাইমারি টিচার। আমার স্টেট হলো আসাম। ইন্ডিয়ার একটা অংশ হলো একটা স্টেট হলো আসাম। এই আসামের মরিগাঁও জেলার মিকিরভেটা পিএস পোস্ট অফিস মিকিরভেটা আর আমার গ্রাম হলো খান্দাপুকুরি। আমারে
Now, after this video, I reached out to this person's family, to the family of Khairul Islam. And his family members confirmed that yes, this is our relative, Khairul Islam, who used to be a primary teacher in a government school in his village in Morigaon district. He had been declared a foreigner by a foreigners tribunal in Assam in 2016, and he had appealed against it in the High Court, but the High Court had upheld the order of the foreigners tribunal, and he was sent into detention in 2018.
Now, after spending 2 years in the detention camp, Islam was released on bail and later approached the Supreme Court to appeal his case.
And the last hearing was held on late 2024, where the court batched it together with other similar petitions, and that all of these will be collectively be heard over the due course of time. So the key question is this, that even at that time we didn't know for sure what is happening. Are people really being detained? But this video really gave us a clue. And here is a person saying that he was pushed across the border, even as his case is being heard at the Supreme Court.
So the clip we played earlier was the first indication that people were being pushed across the border. But later, more videos surfaced online from other border areas, showing people stranded there. In fact, Islam's own family learnt about his situation through that very clip. And yet, the Border Security Force and the Assam police did not, and as of this recording still have not, issued any clarification on the matter.
So even then there was no clarity, but that was the first clue. And for his family, it was enough, right? So they were saying that, yes, our relative has been pushed into Bangladesh despite his ongoing case.
Now, since most of these people are those who have been declared foreigners by the foreigners tribunals, it is important we understand what that process involves. As we discussed in previous episodes, foreigners' tribunals are quasi-judicial bodies, and they determine whether a person, either a doubtful voter or someone referred to by the border police, is an Indian citizen or not. Earlier, people declared foreigners would be kept in designated jails. But since 2023, they have been housed at the Matia detention camp. Now, this process, as you can imagine, is unique to Assam, where citizenship has been a long-standing issue.
In Assam, we can talk about two categories of people. There are people who are bona fide citizens of Bangladesh. I mean, they've been identified as such and have been pushed back. In Assam, we have this category called declared foreigners. These are people who have been declared foreigners by the foreigners' tribunals after their cases were referred to them by the border police or through, this de-voter lists. And there, the onus is on these people. So, for example, if X is referred to a foreigners' tribunal, the onus is on X to produce the documentation to prove that his family has been in Assam before 25th March 1971. So, whatever land records, voter list records, they have to produce. And based on that, these courts adjudicate whether a person is an Indian citizen or not. Otherwise, they're said to have been failed to able to prove that they are citizens.
Now, this has been a burning issue because earlier this year, the Supreme Court took up this matter. And that was when Sukrita says the state made a very interesting submission to the court.
That we are not being able to initiate the process of deporting these 63 declared foreigners who were housed in the Matia detention camp at that time. And they said, we can't do it. We've not been able to start because they have not given us an address in Bangladesh. These are people who have been, different lawyers and, spoke to me at that time and said that, a foreigners tribunal only establishes that this person has not been able to prove that they're an Indian citizen. It does not positively determine that this person is a Bangladesh citizen.
So basically, just because you've been declared a foreigner does not mean that you're a citizen of Bangladesh.
So because of this, Assam has been in this endless phase of, identifying declared foreigners, detaining them and, releasing them on bail. And then these people keep, doing their tariq pe tariq, going to the police every week and, saying that they're here. So this is the, condition of declared foreigners. So again, like in the case of Khairul Islam, many of them, keep appealing. And in many cases, higher courts have overturned the orders made by the foreigners tribunals. And in a lot of cases, higher courts have argued, about the arbitrary nature in which these orders are made.
And now these are the people who are allegedly being detained and pushed across the border. At first, there was no real clarity on the situation. Until Sukrita says Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma finally addressed it at a press conference, where some reporters confronted him about it.
And he confirmed that yes, indeed, the state is undertaking the pushback of declared foreigners, which is something that is happening for the first time, right? Because I just spoke about the complications that have historically arisen in the question of deportation of declared foreigners. And to kind of support this, he cited a Supreme Court order in this very case, right, where, I said that the state told the Supreme Court that we're not being able to initiate the process of deportation. And the court had pulled up during the course of the hearing and in the order, the state had pulled up the state of Assam for not initiating the process of deportation and indeterminately detaining people, right? So the question is, they're being detained to what end in that case? And the court had kind of questioned the chief secretary at the time, asking, do you know what is the country of origin? And the chief secretary answered saying, yes, we do. So then the court had written in its order that if it is known what the nationalities are, then why are the addresses needed? Initiate the process of deportation. That is what had been said.
And she says that this is what is being cited by the state of Assam in these ongoing pushbacks, which, to be clear, are entirely different from deportations.
A deportation is a formal process that is undertaken by the authorities in both countries. It's a process that is led by the Ministry of External Affairs. It involves a nationality verification process, which is why those addresses are needed. So this person, has to submit that this is my address, and then the MEA cross-verifies that with country of origin. So it is a diplomatic process after which a person who is, said to be a foreigner is handed over to the authorities in the other country. A pushback, on the other hand, is an informal process through which, say, again, X, said to be a illegal immigrant, is just pushed across the border. Okay, it's an informal process. So the state is undertaking these pushbacks and saying, what the chief minister exactly said was, the Supreme Court ordered us to deport declared foreigners by any means possible. So this is what we're doing. So that is what is happening, and that is what the state of Assam is saying is why this is happening now.
And besides Khairul Islam, who we spoke about earlier, another person Sukrita wrote about was Manikjan Begum. She and her 8-month-old daughter were taken into police custody on the 25th of May. And it was only later that her son saw her in another video which was aired by a Bangladeshi news channel.
And till that point of time, he had no clue about where his mother was. And, these kind of videos were the only clue for people about where their relatives might possibly be. For many others, still no sense of where their relatives are. Like, for example, I'd also written about the case of Majida Khatun, who had been detained in the same batch along with Manikjan Begum. And her son had spoken to me. He, said, I have watched that video where I can see Manikjan Begum, and I could see other people also who had been detained along with my mother in that video, but I don't see my mother in it, which, was fueling more anxiety and fear, where could his mother be? So a lot of people in a similar state of panic and chaos about where their relatives might be. So actually, the family of last week, the family of 2 such people went to the High Court saying that, we apprehend that these 2 men were detained by police. We have no information about where they are, and we apprehend that they may be pushed into Bangladesh. So they were seeking a stay on these pushbacks. So the court has given the state time to make a formal submission on their whereabouts of these people. So, a lot of questions about where a lot of these people are is ongoing in the state.
And Sukrita, the other really concerning thing about this process is that it is subject to a lot of errors. And we found that out through the case of Rahima Begum. Now, she was pushed into Bangladesh but was brought back when authorities realized that they had made a mistake.
Yeah, Rahima Begum was detained from a home in a village in Assam's Golaghat district on Sunday, and her family say that, her 2 daughters were waiting outside the SP Golaghat's office till around midnight when she was there. And they say that they saw their mother being put into a bus and taken away, but then no information thereafter on where she could be. And then on Friday, her husband Malik Ali got a call, from police in Golaghat town again, saying, your wife is here, come and pick her up. So then, she was brought back home on Friday night, and I had the chance to speak to her after she was back. And she narrated this ordeal, which also gives us insight about what's happening to a lot of other people, about how she was picked up and taken. She said that, they were moved around, but she couldn't say exactly, of course, where they were being taken. And then she said that late on Tuesday night, we were taken to the border, handed over some Bangladeshi currency by the forces. Of course, again, she was not able to elaborate on who these forces are. And then she said that we were asked to cross over the border into Bangladesh. And she said that, it was all paddy fields, and she described how they kind of waded through knee-deep paddy water and muck. And then they reached a village, and that, the people there were hostile and chased them away. And then she said that they were called by the Bangladesh border guards, who then she alleged assaulted them and told them to go back. And then she spoke about how for the rest of an entire day, they were stranded in that no man's land, right? Not able to come either to India or go towards Bangladesh. And they were stranded there for a whole day. And then she said that later that evening, they were called back by the Indian forces, and that she doesn't know exactly what happened. And she doesn't know what happened to the rest of the people, but that she was ultimately taken back home. So then I was able to speak to her lawyer and try and find out what happened. And I found out in April, she also had a foreigners tribunal case ongoing. And she fought it for more than 2 years. And in April, the court ruled in her favor. But the certificate that was issued to Rahima Begum, there was a digit mismatch. And because of this mismatch, it was alleged that she is bearing false documents and she was pushed across the border. So this is a very stark case. And I think in the next few days, we'll be hearing about more such cases of people who've been brought back because of errors and mistakes.
Right. And Sukrita, at this time, there has also been a pushback from the opposition in the state. The leader of the opposition in the Assam Legislative Assembly, Debabrata Saika, for example, has written a letter to the External Affairs Minister S. Shashank. Talk about what this letter says.
He has written a letter. I also want to point out that the AIUDF, which is a regional party in Assam, which has its primary support base amongst Bengali-origin Muslims, raised it first. And they've been opposing this entire pushback. So yes, the political opposition in particular, I don't think the Congress has come out openly against it, but Saikia has, and he's the leader of the opposition in the Assam Assembly. So he's talking about how, pushbacks are not a established process. And he's talking about, how in the parliament itself, the Indian government has submitted, what the due process for a deportation is, which is what I had said, right? It involves nationality verification. So he's talking about in the absence of that, doing these kinds of deportations is a violation of constitutional rights. And he referred to this as, persecution of Muslims. So yeah, he took a very strong stand in his letter and he addressed it to the Union Minister of External Affairs.
And now moving on from Assam, we discuss an ambitious project being undertaken in Mumbai. Last month, the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation issued a tender worth over 2,000 crore rupees to clear over 270 acres of the Deonar dumping ground, which is the oldest and one of the largest landfills in India.
According to the CPCB standards, it is not a sanitary landfill.
That's the Indian Express's Pratip Acharya, who reports on Mumbai for the paper.
So sanitary landfill is a place where the daily incoming waste is treated and processed. But Deonar has been labelled as a dump site, which means that all the incoming waste that comes there lies over there untreated, and it houses legacy waste, which means the waste that has been lying there for a while that dates back to more than a century now. And the total proportion of waste that is there is around 2 crore metric tons.
And so the tender is to clear all that waste. And while that alone is a significant challenge, the tender also requires the work to be done using bioremediation methods and completed within just 3 years. To understand what bioremediation is and the challenges that this project will likely face, my colleague Ichha Sharma speaks to Pratip in this segment.
Pratip, we understand that the BMC has issued over 2,000 crore rupees tender to clear this landfill. But why now? What's behind the sudden urgency?
So last year, just a day before the Maharashtra elections were announced and the code of conduct kicked in, the state government earmarked around 124 acre of the Deonar landfill that will be used for, building housing tenements for the Dharavi redevelopment project, which is a housing project of rehabilitating the slum areas of Dharavi in central Mumbai. And this project is being spearheaded by the state government along with the Adani Group. So as part of this project, the 124 acre land portion of Deonar will be reclaimed, where housing tenements will be built to house a certain number of people who will be relocated from Dharavi to Deonar.
And Pratip, the tender requires that bioremediation methods be used for this clearance. So can you break down for us what exactly is bioremediation and how does it work in, context of a massive landfill like Deonar?
So basically the process of bioremediation involves, treating garbage items with the help of natural elements like air, sunlight and microorganisms. And as part of the process, the entire bulk of solid waste that is present in the landfill today, they will be extracted by using JCBs and cranes and everything, and then there will be placed in an open land parcel for natural treatment. And over time, what will happen is the biodegradable component of the waste will get decomposed, while the non-biodegradable extracts, which are for example metals and every other thing which are non-biodegradable, they will be taken out for artificial treatment or they might be either recycled. So during this whole process, items like rock ores or mine waste are also extracted from the waste items. And by this way, there is a segregation that happens while the biodegradable items gets, mixed in the land or mixed in the surface, while the non-biodegradable items are being taken out for extraction.
And you write in your piece that Deonar is a methane hotspot. So what are the environmental and health implications of that, especially for nearby communities?
So the Deonar landfill stands in the heart of a place which is called Govandi. And from all its three sides, it has, informal housing settlements, housing like a few lakh of people. And on behind the landfill, there is a creek that flows. And it also has mangrove areas. So the main health hazard is because, like I said in the beginning, that the Deonar landfill is not a sanitary landfill. It's just a dump site. So all the waste that is being dumped over there is untreated and it's uncontrolled. So what happens from that land parcel, methane is generated into the air. And in 2024, a CPCB report that was, Central Pollution Control Board report that was submitted to the National Green Tribunal, and it showed that around 6,202 kg of methane is, emitted from this landfill every hour. And that happens because of the toxic fumes that comes out from the waste particles and everything. And alongside this, when waste items are being kept in a particular place for a very long period of time, they start discharging leachate. So leachate is a toxic liquid that comes out from the waste items. And this leachate gets, mixed with the soil, and they get mixed up with the underground water, and they creates a major source of water pollution as well as the soil pollution. So alongside this, due to this methane and everything, so the entire Govandi and the whole area, like people who live there have very low life expectancy rate. Like out of the total tuberculosis cases that are reported in Mumbai, Govandi and this adjoining areas of Deonar landfill like Govandi, Mankud, like they contribute to 15% of the overall tuberculosis cases in Mumbai.
And so, Pratip, given this condition of the landfill and the ambitious deadline of 3 years, can you tell us what are the biggest challenges that the BMC will face in executing this bioremediation plan?
Yeah, obviously, like reclaiming such a big chunk of, land parcel is a challenge for the BMC. Because like in 2018, they had initiated around a reclaiming of a 60-acre dumping ground in Mulund, which is in the eastern suburbs of Mumbai, northeast like end of Mumbai. So till date, they have been only able to reclaim 67% of the waste, and only half of the land parcel have been reclaimed, which means out of the 70 lakh metric tons of waste, around 47 lakh metric tons of waste have been reclaimed, have been removed from that land till date, I am saying. And while at Deonar, the total waste that is lying over there is almost 3 times, and the area that the BMC aims to clean is also like more than like almost 4 times. So the target that they have kept, they have kept a 3-year target to clean up the whole Deonar landfill. But as we can see, the Mulund landfill, which is a much smaller land parcel, they are still not been able to like clean it in 7 years now. We are in 2025. So one of the big challenges is obviously it's an over-ambitious proposal, cleaning the whole landfill within just 3 years. And they also said that they will have, on each day around 23,000 metric tons of waste are needed to be processed, which is again very huge. Then apart from this, there is a additional requirement of land parcel where, like I said, the waste that is been extracted and needed to be kept for natural processing. Then there is also a question of vehicle, like how many vehicles will be deployed. Like according to the preliminary calculations, nearly 1,200 trucks are needed to be mobilized every day. So whether you are ready to deploy, with such large scale machinery, whether you have such a large scale machinery under your dispensation, how many trucks, like as I know, like there is only one entry and exit point in the Deonar landfills. Like how many trucks are going to enter and exit at the same time? And another most important thing is the monsoon season, because in Mumbai, the monsoon stays for 4 months, and the unseasonal rains, if you calculate, like they take around, like 15-20 days or even 1 more month. So during this whole period, like 4 to 5 months, you can't carry out this process. So in a while, in 3 years, we have 36 months. So if you, on an average, if you deduct 4 months from every year, the BMC is left with only 24 months period, which is just equal to 2 years.
And in the end, we talk about the latest developments in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war.
It is one of the most daring and devastating Ukrainian attacks on Russian troops since the start of the war.
President Zelensky claimed that Ukraine's Operation Spider Web destroyed Russian bombers worth at least $7 billion.
The attacks come ahead of Monday's prospective ceasefire talks in Istanbul.
Footage released
on Sunday, Ukraine conducted a large-scale drone attack, targeting 5 Russian military air bases located deep inside Russian territory. The operation, referred to as Operation Spider's Web, involved a swarm of Ukrainian drones that were unleashed on the 1st of June that left some 41 bomber aircrafts in flames. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that the planning for the operation had been underway for 18 months and that the drones were withdrawn after the operation concluded. According to the Indian Express's Anil Sasi, this was one of the most significant raids in recent military history and marked a sharp departure from Ukraine's usual drone tactics. Until now, most of their strikes involved large, fixed-wing drones operating at night and targeting locations near the front lines. However, this time, the approach was very different. Instead of nighttime aerial attacks near the border, small quadcopters were launched during daylight hours from deep inside Russian territory, thousands of kilometers from Ukraine. According to reports, over 100 of these first-person view drones were smuggled into Russia, hidden inside wooden cabins mounted on trucks. These drones, equipped with front-facing cameras, reportedly used Russian mobile networks to stream footage back to Ukraine, much of which later appeared online. It is believed the truck drivers may not have known what they were transporting, a tactic reminiscent of the 2022 Kerch bridge bombing. According to Anil Sasi, this attack underscores Ukraine's growing drone capabilities, and some defense experts warn that such tactics could be replicated globally. This marks a turning point in the use of drones in warfare, and one that is being closely monitored by militaries around the world, including India. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Ichha Sharma and me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.